Welcome to Executives at the Edge, a podcast brought to you by MEF. I'm your host, Pascal Menezes. Join me as we explore thought-provoking perspectives from the leaders and changemakers who are propelling enterprise digital transformation forward. Well, I'm really so excited to have Brian Washburn. He's a Research Director of Service Provider, Enterprise, and Wholesale for Omdia. Brian, welcome to Executives at the Edge. And today I believe you're going to talk a lot about the hype around AI, what's the opportunities for AI with our service provider communities, and really how can NAS, MEF Network as a Service, unlock this potential with AI? So Brian, for our listeners, if you can please give a little bit of background about yourself and a little bit about what Omdia does, that'd be really appreciated.
Great. Well, thank you for having me, Pascal. And yes, Omdia is a research firm that's part of Informatech. We have about 350 analysts all across various verticals. We're one of the larger, if not possibly the largest market research firm to focus specifically on telco and service providers. And I myself have been in the business for somewhere north of 30 years, covering telcos and networks, and specifically enterprise services within the telco industry.
Well, that is really great. Brian, today I think we're going to talk a lot about AI. So there's a lot of hype around AI. Can you kind of help us understand what is this AI revolution and what does it mean for telcos?
Yes, we actually have got groups inside Omdia that cover AI specifically or AI in operations. But the piece that I'm looking at here is we asked ourselves the question of what does all of this AI enablement mean for generating additional traffic on networks? And then we've got our telco clientele that's going to be on the hook to try and make sure that they meet all of the service level requirements and can handle the additional traffic of this upswell of demand. We're seeing AI just kind of manage to slink its way into all sorts of different types of applications. So cloud applications, SaaS is now becoming AI enabled. Your Google search is beginning to report back with AI enabled results. So it isn't just things like ChatGPT or Night Cafe, but there are a whole lot of ways that additional traffic is being generated. Yet all of these things are just kind of the beginning of the groundswell, and there's some other things that are coming down the pike that are really going to start making a difference in both enterprises' own operations, to transform their operations, and for the need for telcos to meet those changing needs for the enterprise. So
when you talk about this, this AI today that's really become hype, where do you see the opportunities to make money? I mean, there's so much AI. We're talking about so much AI. I was looking at various pages, and I see AI for investments, and there's AI for everything. AI, as you talked about, Google search, and there's just so much AI. So where's the opportunity for telcos?
Well, that's exactly right. There's so many different kind of moving parts here. The one that I think telcos need to concentrate on is to keep it as simple as possible. When you look at things like ChatGPT, what those are doing nowadays is interactive text. You actually need a human at the other end of that interaction, and you're probably filling up maybe 50 kilobits worth of text in one of those sessions. That's not really a heavy lift, and it doesn't have to be within a 100 millisecond response. So where are the actual kind of telco heavy demands? Well, as it turns out, there's real basic stuff that has a lot of value. And that's if you take something like a camera and you point it at a particular task that you're trying to accomplish and say, okay, monitor this task, look for these sorts of conditions. If this condition happens, then do that. And you can kind of unfold that into infinite different ways of dealing with all sorts of different business processes that enterprises need to do. Each one of those cameras generates 1 megabit, 4 megabits worth of video potentially, or at least several hundred kilobits of constant image transfer. And then each one of those needs some sort of response within a certain amount of time. So for the enterprise, suddenly you've got a lot of pieces that fall into place to do very simple but powerful things using video signals as kind of the universal single source of truth for what the business needs to view, visual processing, cognitive analytics, and how it responds to that using intelligence instead of something that's been coded.
So I think about what you just said for video analytics, really. There are many processes, for example, in a retail store, shoplifting. I could have cameras all over looking for a shoplifter and recognizing people who are shoplifting. Another example could be in manufacturing, used for quality QA, looking at every part, everything manufactured, looking in high resolution camera, looking for something of a defect, taking a picture, sending it back really locally to a AI model, and then inferring from that really fast. So it needs very milliseconds even processing. So are these the kind of things you're talking about?
Exactly right. And to bring in kind of this odd little side story, the missing pieces in all of this, one is that we've had enterprises that are trying to digitally transform. And the problem with that has been so far that in order to do some of these big projects, you need to bring in a systems integrator, you need to do like 6 months worth of RFIs and RFPs to define and assess, and then bring in a deep bench of coders, and you're paying $1 million before you know it to try and get this visual processing cognitive analytics application into a particular enterprise environment. By the time all is said and done, it becomes a big, expensive project. That means a lot of decision time and a lot of executive sign-off. What we've got is there was an application that a local guy did here. A retired engineer was having an issue at a boat dock where they were trying to keep waterfowl off the boat dock. Basically, he took a Raspberry Pi, less than $100, had a motion camera that was pointed at the dock. He had to ring fence the dock area, did an image transfer to AWS on a regular basis to look for and identify waterfowl. Very simple service logic that says, if you see waterfowl on the dock and there is not a human, then activate the water sprayers. The whole thing cost a couple $100 and was one retired engineer that built it. This is the idea of how powerful it becomes when you are training an application to look for certain things, and you've already got these pre-built AI libraries and capabilities versus building something as an integration project. That's where I think we're going to start seeing this really take off in terms of enterprises deploying first 2 cameras, then 10, then 50, then 100, because they are so valuable and so versatile to doing lots of different tasks inside the organization without a whole big uplift to get them in and get them doing what they're supposed to do.
So I think about what you just said, a lot of models, there's going to be lots of models trained, finely tuned for specific things. So what's the opportunity for telcos? Do you think the telco opportunity is some AI cloud is being operated by a vendor that's come with a very specialized model, and they're operating it as a cloud model? And then what they do is go to the telco and say, telco, you want to be my channel for me to sell this into all the enterprises. Why don't you sell it in all your offerings? I'll operate for you as a cloud delivery model, but maybe in some cases that model has to be living really close to the edge, at the network edge or the building edge. And so you manage my model at the network edge in your POPs, or at the building edge where you have risers, access to risers, and maybe put a very small footprint, as you talk about like Raspberry Pi or something like that, a very small white box or something like that. Is that what you're talking about? Is that the kind of opportunity? It's a go-to-market sales model, but automation has to happen between that AI cloud guy provider and the telco channel. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
Yeah, that's exactly right. The way that we see, there's a couple of different pockets of opportunity, and we think that there are net new revenues that telco can potentially tap here. And that's sort of music to the ears, net new revenues for telcos, new buckets of opportunity. There is the one of saying, Can we get involved in some of the professional services if it's not going to involve a deep bench of developers? And yes, there's an opportunity there. But there's also, as you mentioned, this opportunity at the edge. If the telco can host GPUs that are in proximity, there's certain things that can be done that require really low latency. So you could have it on a manufacturing floor with tighter tolerances where you need to have a, say, sub 100 millisecond turnaround. There's also the connectivity portion, because even if it's a little bit more forgiving than sub 100 milliseconds, you may still need those Cloud Connect resources to different AI locations. Then there's additionally the GPUs themselves, hosting GPU as a service at the edge. So there is a telco opportunity to extract some rent, either from having a direct service or more likely working with hyperscalers and third parties that will provide the platform, and they will provide the hosting and processing elements. And then finally, telcos have this orchestration component that we've been working on at the edge for some time. But if there's this capability to cross-map what the business needs to do and what its business requirements and outcomes are against what the network needs to supply between edge and centralized cloud and network performance, then you're really talking about a value end-to-end service that delivers to provide kind of application support for some very high value things. So the orchestration piece by itself may not generate a whole lot of revenues, but you put all the pieces together and suddenly you're talking about becoming a real end-to-end solutions platform provider.
Yeah, so at MEF, we define our network as a service blueprint, NAS, as automating or on-demand underlays connectivity, and then, application performance above that, and then cybersecurity, and then cloud on-ramps. So some of these cloud, we think about hyperscaler clouds of IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, but now we're talking about AI clouds as being an on-ramp too, where the AI cloud might live in a region, or it might live really right in the building that the telco or the partner, the service provider partner really works with the AI cloud guy. So that's kind of what you're saying, right? And so when I think about telcos and what they need to prepare to tap to all these kind of opportunities, what is the critical role that you think MEF can play with NAS to unlock this opportunity?
Well, I think you have it exactly right. Network as a service is one of the linchpins at putting this entire model together. We've heard some telcos talk about the concept of saying, can we get a network that's intelligent enough where we can plug in the business outcome that the enterprise needs, and then it can align the resources and kind of muster together all of the elements that are needed to deliver that business outcome. That sort of automation, it's aspirational, but it's the sort of thing that with a standards framework, such as MEF can put together, can provide some real high value for what a telco can supply. So yes, that's why we're having the conversation today, is because I think MEF has a critical role to play in getting telcos into this game of providing the sorts of service requirements where you can map the network and the cloud resources all back against the actual infrastructure assets, and map that against the application requirements that the business has to have a successful transactions and successful outcomes.
So as you know, Brian, we've already have this capability of mapping the underlays to like overlays. Overlays and underlays working together. SD-WAN needs set of network infrastructure underlays. They work with other providers to get those underlays. What you're saying now is we map AI clouds that to not just underlays and connectivity, but also where they need to live, these models. Do they live on a UCP white box that the service provider owns, or at a GPU as a service and some other bigger, compute data center, so on? So I think this is kind of what you're saying. And yes, we have got these APIs in our NAS offering for business APIs, operational APIs. And the way we built these APIs are built so that you can have different services on these APIs. So We can have, as you said, underlay services, carry Ethernet, IP. We can do SD-WAN services, SaaS services, cloud connectivity services. But now we can do AI clouds that you can connect to and where the models have to live. And this is kind of how we build all of our automation. So yeah, thank you for putting this all together. I have been saying this many times, the same idea as what you've been saying. And we're starting to get a lot of traction and hoping to enable new revenue opportunities for our service providers members, especially as the AI era continues to grow rapidly.
That's great to hear, because we also believe that the AI model will have to end up being a tiered model. And that's where the orchestration of the AI components becomes complex to decide where do different parts of an AI application need to reside in order to provide the performance that the business applications need. And there's going to be a lot of challenges in that because, as we know, there's lots of different elements, components to the edge, and different levels of resources at different places at the edge. Aligning all of those different resources and then making that part of the network capabilities we've already got for resourcing to have one kind of universal fabric. That is, I think, a place where we're going to have some of the next big challenges and where the industry needs to be going.
Well, Brian, it's such a great honor to be talking about this. I think the AI era is on us and continuously evolving rapidly, and there's much opportunity that our service providers and telcos can really grab onto. So thank you for this conversation.
Thanks so much, Pascal. It's been my pleasure to be here today.
Thanks for joining us for Executives at the Edge. Don't miss an episode. Subscribe today. Share online a review. Find all our episodes on your favorite podcast platform and at MEF.net.